So guys, with a movie like Despicable Me 2, such a success, Oscar nominations, the three of you are really at the top of your game right now. But obviously you had to start somewhere. I'd like to hear some stories about how you began in your careers or an early achievement in your career that was very important to you. So Heitor, I want to start with you. You had a really interesting trip to the United States, did you not?
I did. Well, I come from a musician's family in Brazil, so music was always in my life. But there were a couple of musicians that I've heard when I was around like 17 that really kind of sparkled this thing that I need to know more. And at the time where I lived in Brazil, there wasn't much that I could get from. So with the help of my parents, they sold this Beetle, a Volkswagen car. I had only my guitar, and I sold the guitar, and I bought a ticket in a Lloyd's cargo ship, and it cost me $150. And I spent, I think it was 17 days in the ocean, crossing in this crazy cargo. And so I left Rio de Janeiro. I had like $400 with me for my journey. And I left at like Rio 40 Celsius degrees, right? Serious heat. And I get in the New York, not airport, we're talking about the port, right? So a big snowstorm. And man, I realized, like, if I'm going through all of this and I still feel that, this is all part of what should be really happening, because I'm happy doing all this. I didn't have fear of the ocean. There were times we got caught in like hurricane tails in the Caribbean Ocean. We had to be strapped to the boat, to the beds and all that kind of stuff. I never feared. I was always envisaging what I'm gonna do when I get there. And then I came and I studied with people here, and yeah, but that's how I came to America for the first time.
And there's a great story of you performing, I think, in a bar, and then there was someone pretty influential who was in the audience who liked your style, right?
Yeah, man, you dug deep. So yes. Unfortunately, I ran out of those $400 in my second week just in the gas bill, obviously. So then I had to, what I did, I played to keep myself going, really. I played in a Brazilian restaurant playing like bossa novas, for a plate of food, basically at the end of the night. So there were days that I was inspired, but there were days that I was very depressed. And in one of those nights, I probably was playing the bluesiest bossa nova ever, the most depressing and depressed thing, and probably I was like that, right? And singing my heart out and playing, and somebody dropped a note, and left and waved. Then it turns out that after the night was over, and I read the note, and it just said, please continue believing in yourself and in your dreams. I know that sometimes it gets hard. I never spoke to that person, but continue. And this gentleman turned out to be who I always saw as the master of jazz guitar in the world, called Jim Hall. He unfortunately passed away a couple months ago. And this guy is really the musicians of all musicians. It would be like the Glenn Gould of piano playing or something like that. It's the equivalent for the jazz guitar. And when I saw, that note and assigned by him, and again, it was a confirmation that I felt I was doing the right thing. Even though that moment was, wasn't the best moment, I knew that there were more things to come.
Cinco, what about you? What sticks out as a breakthrough moment in your early career?
Well, while Heitor was in the cargo hold, I was in this building. I was in the cargo hold of USC Film School. And so I was at the master's program here in screenwriting, and graduated from that program, and then I wrote my first script out of the program as a script called Band of Gold, and it was about a doctor who's about to get married, and he's entrusted with his fiance's family's like priceless heirloom a band of gold wedding ring, and then he accidentally sews it up inside a patient. And so then the rest of the movie, he's trying to get the ring back out, and he falls in love with the woman who has the ring inside her. So it's sort of like Bringing Up Baby, screwball comedy. And so my story was, and this was pretty much straight out of SC. I got an agent, Frank Williger, who's my agent today, and he said, like, I think the script's ready, let's send it out. And we sent it out, and then the very next day, we got what's known as a preemptive offer. So it was a producer saying, you have, I don't know, 5 hours. Take this offer or take your chances over the weekend. I, being like a new father and right, just starting off, I said, like, let's take the offer. And so it was that great chance to like call up my in-laws and like finally say, I sold a script. And he said, how much? I said, $275. And he said, dollars? And I was able to say, actually, it's a lot more than that, Pops. And so it was that great moment of finally realizing, you know, maybe I can actually make a career out of this. This is going to work, I think. That, you know, and so that got me my foot in the door, and then I got assignments based. Band of Gold never got made. I think most screenwriters will tell you some of their favorite scripts are the ones that never got made. But
you got some ink. There you are, Cinema Line strikes gold at the bottom of the page.
There you go. That was, you know, multiple copies sent to my parents and my in-laws to prove that I had really accomplished something. But that was the beginning of everything.
Chris, one of your first jobs in the industry is one of the most fun and fascinating sounding ones that I've ever heard.
Well, when, you know, at college and high school, I just loved working on plays and theater and then making films and studying film. And then I got an incredible opportunity to be what is essentially, used to be called a gopher. I guess today it's kind of like a PA or an assistant, working for a producer who is named Daniel Melnick. And I came out to Los Angeles, and there was just this amazing feeling because I walked up to our office on the 20th Century lot, and outside the office, I saw my name on a parking space. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just incredible. I then found out that my name was on that parking spot because my job was really going to be driving a car, running packages all day long. And so, you know, I spent the next year and a half in a car, driving through Los Angeles, and, you know, became a little bit dispirited. I knew intellectually that I was paying the dues, but, you know, I didn't know where it was gonna go. We ended up making a film a couple of years later called Footloose. And this was not the recent Footloose. This was the original Footloose. And in exchange for my dues paying, my boss made me sort of everyone's assistant on the film. So I was assisting the 3 producers, I was assisting the director. And when I arrived in Provo, Utah, for what I would then spend 5 months there while we made the film through pre-production through the end, I realized that feeling just came back, that feeling I had when I was in school about, you know, just that feeling of learning, that energy and excitement around the creation of stories, and my job on that film ended up becoming a collection of just everything that anybody could think of throwing at me. So yes, I was still doing that kind of assistant stuff that's not very glamorous, but all of a sudden I found myself being like the camp counselor for all of the kids in the cast, with the exception of Kevin Bacon, who was extremely mature. Everybody else in the cast was extremely immature, even some of them older than me. But so I was responsible for the cast. I ended up being sort of the on-set person, being the point person for all local press, and it just kept building and building and building. and turned out to be one of the great learning experiences and one of the most exciting experiences of my career.
I think it's a great lesson that whatever someone throws at you, particularly when you're starting out in your career, do it with a smile, learn from it, and you never know what can come of it. Yeah. So it's a great story. All right, stick with us. We'll have more with the Despicable Dream Team in our next segment.